Hello to all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched and Share Shots. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and joining me tonight, he is a superstar, absolutely tearing up the Southeast. He is used to all the beef. He is Tyler Franks. Tyler, thanks for coming on and chat some wrestling with me, brother. How are you?
Good, man. Thank you for having me.
So I always do this the same way. It's like the same dance, and every time I do it, I have a different opponent with me. You're standing across the ring, but I always start with an origin story. For me, late 80s, early 90s, I grew up watching the end of NWA, beginning of WCW down here in the South. Got into high school, WWF had came down, Attitude Era, TNA when I got to college. I kind of grew up watching wrestling. What did you grow up watching? Like your earliest exposure? What do you remember watching as a kid?
So my dad was a fan back in the day, but I never really watched when I was a kid. I started watching when I was 7. I had a neighbor that was real big into it. He got me back into it. My earliest memory, my dad, he was a huge Hogan fan growing up in the 80s, and he bought the Hogan and Michaels SummerSlam pay-per-view, and I remember him having a bunch of friends over and that being a big deal. But the first episode of Raw that I can remember watching was '07. It was all I can really remember. I remember Orton and Cena were feuding at the time, and it was the episode where Orton pulled Cena's dad over the barricade and punted him, and I was instantly in love, and I've been an Orton guy ever since.
One of the greats. That's a solid pick. I mean, you can't go wrong with you when you talk about Randy Orton. Um, when you decided, okay, I'm going to be a pro wrestler, you can't just wake up one day. Like for me, I was a chef. I woke up, I said, I'm going to be a chef. So I started finding chefs to work for. I was going to restaurants and working and staging and figure out how to learn to be a chef. Pro wrestler, not the same fucking thing, really. Y'all have a totally different world to climb up. Yours, you ended up at the Jacobs Pritchard School outside of Knoxville. What was it like leading up before you got to the school, though? Leading you to the Jacobs Pritchard School.
I started training with New South in like January, February of 2018. But leading up to that, I didn't know there was any kind of wrestling, going on around here at all. Like, I never really, like, I always wanted to be a wrestler, but I never really envisioned that being a realistic possibility. But me and my friends, we did backyard wrestling in high school, and honestly, wrestling's been a part of my life since I was 8 years old. When I was 8 years old, we did backyard wrestling, and we recorded it in my friend's bedroom. We put it on YouTube, and we'd go over on the weekends as I got older, and we would all hang out and wrestle. And that's always like, it was always my dream, but I didn't think it was something realistic that I could do. Um, and we had a backyard promotion called Down South Wrestling, or DSW. And this was when I was like a senior in high school, and we were feuding with another backyard promotion based out of like Moulton, Alabama. And they hit us up, and we were trying to link up and all that, and they said, hey, come meet us at this wrestling show, New South or whatever. And we went out there, and we'd filmed like some little crossover stuff. And my friend, actually, I went to high school with Hunter Drake, and with I don't know if you know who, like Samuel Downey or Can't Havoc, those guys. But we all did the backyard wrestling together. And Sam, is like at the concession stand and ran into, I think it was Donnie, Prime Time, and we talked to him after the show. And we met up with a lot of those guys, started training on Sundays after that. And the rest is kind of history. I did that for about we trained for about a year before we started doing matches. I had my first match in January, or not January, my bad. That's when I started training. My first match was March of 2019. Wrestled for about a year. COVID hit. I got let go from my job. Had a bunch of money saved up, and stars kind of aligned for me to go to JPWA, and that's kind of how we got there.
So when you get the JPWA, having had a chance to kind of have a cup of coffee in the business, so to speak, did that give you an edge going into an elevated program? Like, I mean, Mayor Kane, Dr. Tom, those are two pretty well-known names in the business to learn from. Did you feel like you had a leg up on the competition, so to speak, going in with kind of a little bit of, like even if it is a bare bones training going into school, did that give you an edge at all?
I would definitely say that a lot of those guys, majority of the guys in my class, that was their first time ever getting into a ring, ever doing a lot of stuff. So definitely had an advantage in that aspect. Me and Hunter were in the same class as well at JPWA, so that kind of helped as well. We could pair off, and it was easier for us to kind of show other people stuff or kind of pick up on all that. But honestly, it opened my eyes to everything because I thought I knew how to wrestle. I thought I knew that, and I realized I didn't know shit. And I mean, I could move. I could hit. I could do a match, but like, it was the little details that I didn't pay much attention to prior to that. Whenever we would watch matches of mine in front of the class, and he would rip me to pieces, or when we would be in the ring doing drills or practice matches, and just the little details and just so much of just the important stuff of wrestling and what I picked up there, and it was awesome. Dr. Tom is the man. I recommend anyone that wants to get in the business go to JPWA.
So as we move along throughout your career, I was turning over rocks, doing my due diligence, preparing for the conversation, as it were, and I noticed you worked for IWA Mid South. And one of my favorite parts about covering indie wrestling is you learn about some of these places that are both famous and infamous for good and bad reasons. And IWA Mid South and Ian Rotten is always one of those names, no matter what. This isn't me asking for any dirt. I'm not asking for anything like that. It's just part of the job, man.
Right.
What was it like working with IWA, having a chance to work with Ian and the boys down there?
Honestly,
Or I guess up there technically, because more towards Indiana.
Yeah. Honestly, at the time, it was awesome, man. I'm very grateful for my time there. My so how I got started at IWA was so me and Hunter were a tag team when we first started breaking in 2019, and we went and did they had a little tryout show, and we went up there, and I remember like it's at the legendary arena Jeffersonville or whatever, and I remember being scared to death because they put us in the main event. It was me and Hunter versus Chris Crunk and Sean Christopher, and we had like 12 minutes or whatever. And I remember like one of the matches leading up, they were getting chanted like "Please go home." Like people were, it was rough out there, and I was 7 months, 6 months in at the time, and we went out there and had at the time our best match, and they gave us a "Please come back" chant, and it was wonderful. But I mean, I gained a lot of great experience there. Got to work with some really good people, got to network with a lot of great people, meet some cool people, and it's definitely interesting. There's definitely a lot of the stuff you hear about IWA, you definitely get to experience that firsthand being there. But man, it was one of the best times of my career. I hate to see what happened with IWA, but to me, being a fan and watching a lot of old IWA when I was younger as well, it was kind of like a real cool moment, at least to be up there. And like I said, very grateful for my time there, and it was it was great.
I like that because for every story that I've ever gotten that was kind of an F. Ian Rotten story, I've always had another one that was like Ian going above and beyond to be like extra cool to help somebody out get to the next show, or like it was like tit for tat, like a yin yang. And that's
Yeah,
why I always roll the dice when I ask about IWA Mid South, because I know without knowing, you and I have never had a chance to meet. We've crossed paths at the show, but we didn't have a chance to say hi. Like, I don't know what I'm going to get out of it sometimes asking you those questions.
and about that, like for me personally, like of course I was a few months in, so I didn't care to work for little money, so didn't get a lot of money, but at least like I always got paid. He always did right by me, always did me well. But I have seen instances, where there's a lot, depending on, like you said, who you ask. There's some people that had different experiences with them, and some, good and bad. So I was just fortunate enough that I had only positive experiences with Ian Rodden.
once again, like I said, it's one of those things, man. You never know. But you have had a chance to work with kind of a who's who of some of the indie crowd, and one of them just recently came to town. Before we dive into the New South stuff, GCW, man, they're famously known for going from territory to territory and helping put up and put over the independent talent from each market. New South had a chance to work with them. You've had a chance to work with GCW alone. What's it like working with GCW and having a chance to they're kind of like what Ring of Honor was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They're that indie promotion. You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
king of the indies, however you want to
absolutely.
look at it. Like, how cool is it to have a chance to work with Brett and the boys now?
Oh, dude, it was very, very cool. Something, as a, young wrestler that, you really strive, a place that everyone really wants to be. And, I thought both times I've had an opportunity to work there, it was very positive. The locker room is awesome. All the people there are really cool, good people, great talent. And, like the people I got to get in the ring with up there is phenomenal. Both Cole and Jordan, two of the best guys on the indies right now. I definitely feel like I've gotten better each time I've got to step in there. And I'd love to go up there again in the future, and just keep maybe proving myself. Funny story, the first time I technically worked for them, I was like a job guy. This was when I was like 2 months in, 3 months in. They did a show in Tullahoma. It was called Wombat, and it was kind of a spoof on the old Memphis wrestling. And I did a Joey Janela seminar that day, and I got picked or whatever to be used on like the squash match. Like it was 90 seconds or whatever. I think my name was like Derek Markley, or something like that. But I'll never forget before I went out, like on the board, it was listed. They had Smoking Buds versus Jobbers, and I was teaming my partner in that match with a guy named Bradley Prescott, I believe. And I remember before we went out, Nick Gage was kind of standing in the back area, and he looked at us and goes, "Hey, I know it says jobbers on the board, but you two guys are not fucking jobbers. Go out there and fucking like I mean, I can't quote it exactly, but it's along the lines of like, go through and prove yourself. You're not fucking jobbers." And like, I just remember feeling like, damn, dude, I can run through a fucking brick wall right now. And I remember back then, even though it was 90 seconds, no one remembered or whatever, but just at the time, that was a very motivating and like cool experience that really helped kind of keep me going and stay motivated.
Now, let's get to the here and now. The the what's going on now. New South Pro Wrestling, man. Historic run coming up on an 8th year anniversary show. Before we get to that part of it, let's talk about you and Hunter for a second. You guys had a huge run together, 3-time New South Pro Tag Champions. You guys saw the best and the worst, the comings and goings of how tag teams come. But you've also had success as a singles competitor. A loaded question for you, man, right off the rip.
Let's go.
Do you prefer to work as a singles guy, or did you prefer working in a tag team?
I mean, that's tough because we had a great tag run, and I feel like there was a lot of things that were still left on the table that we didn't really get around to achieving. But I think for us to properly grow, get where we needed to be, it needed to be a little bit of a split. It's hard to tell because we're still both getting growing and getting better as time goes, so we hadn't reached our full potential as a team when we split. Man, that's tough. I really enjoy what I'm doing right now. I enjoy being a singles guy, but that's not to say that I didn't enjoy the tag round, because that had some phenomenal matches. And I mean, honestly, I don't think I've been in another set tag team since then. I've on some shows here and there, I've had some small runs, but nothing like that, like we were as the Talladega Nights. So I would say right now, just based off of my recent performance and how I am in this moment, I would say I enjoy being a singles guy, but I'm not going to put away that may change in the future.
It was a lot of fun. Like I
Oh,
said, I had a chance. I saw you guys in Florence, not but just a couple weeks ago. You and Hunter both tore blew the roof off the place. New South, though, one of the cool things about New South that I've learned to love over the last few months as I've started watching you guys is that New South crowd. You go to, I say this a lot because this is the way I describe it. You go to Philly in the 2300, those crowds have a very distinct feel. You know what I mean? You go to Memphis and you watch wrestling, they have a very distinct feel. You go to Charlotte, the old JCP, they have a very distinct feel. New South is very much developing that feel of a New South crowd. Does it feel that way to you guys on the backside of the curtain?
Oh, most definitely. And being with New South for 4 years, 5 years now, starting as a trainee to now, I've seen a lot of highs and lows and peaks and valleys and whatnot. And, I feel like at times, we've really had just like when you go out there, like what kind of reaction you're going to get. And it's going to be that ruckus that where the crowd wants to take over the showtop environment. And like it's my favorite crowd to work for, honestly. I mean, granted, that is my most consistent audience, those people that kind of know me the most and whatnot. But man, that is such a fun crowd to work for, and they're very creative, man. Like I've heard all kinds of different chants thrown my way. Like even when we were teaming as the Talladega Nights to now, and especially since I turned heel, the amount of creation that the fans will come up with for these chants and for stuff, man. It's awesome.
You said it just then. You've worked with them for probably 5, coming up on 6 of the 8 years that New South has been a thing. Having consistency to work with the same locker room and the same people and to see the same people week over week, does that build and allow for like a comfortability for what you guys are doing and the stories you're telling?
Yeah, I would say so. We've had a lot of good talent come in and out of New South throughout the years. Like if you look at our roster now and compare it to maybe 3 years ago, it's vastly different, but you still have some of the same core group of guys and building a lot of connections with those guys. Like a lot of people in the back call it the New South family, and it really does feel that way at times because there's some people you meet there that like that I've met through wrestling, met through New South that I know that I can talk to or trust in my everyday life, and that's a cool feeling to have when you go to a show and you don't have to dread like I don't know how it's going to be in this locker room, I don't know how it's going to be here, but that you're going to be surrounded with cool people, people that are going to want the best for you, and of course just like everywhere, you have times where there are a little bit of you know
Every job has it, man. I
right.
get
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah. But overall, man, the New South locker room it's awesome. Great. I'm lucky to be a part of that locker room.
So right around the corner, huge show coming up is the anniversary show. Everybody seems to be getting hyped for it. The card every day, there seems to be a drop or something new happening that just seems to make it bigger and bigger every single day. How excited are you for 8 years and the big anniversary show for New South?
I'm very excited, honestly. The anniversary show is, the possibly the biggest show, they put on every single year. And, now this will be my 4th straight anniversary show, I believe, that I've got to participate on. And, I'm, just same as the first one, man. I'm very excited and I'm very humble and glad to be on there. I'm not sure what I'll be doing honestly yet. I know right now I'm in this best of 7 series with Brandon. I'm up 3-2, so I plan on ending that this in Rockford as we record this. But if not, if he somehow happens to, I don't think he will, but if he happens to beat me Saturday, looks like we would potentially have a match 7 on there. So that could be. If not, I would honestly enjoy beating him in Rockford and showing up at the anniversary and just chilling and just enjoying
Just
my
having the night
maybe,
off.
yeah, maybe go
Just
get a few
celebrating the
drinks in
anniversary of the
bar and watch
boys.
everyone else tear each other to pieces while I just rest and enjoy my victory.
All right, Tyler, this is one of my favorite questions to ask because it's genuine because everybody gives me a different answer because of the story we just told in the last
Right.
20 minutes. And if we're going to hop in the Wayback Machine, we're going to go back to that 2018, 2019 range. And we have a chance to talk to that kid before he walks into the door for the first time and starts his training or goes into New South for the first time, whichever version of Tyler you want to do this.
Okay.
Give that man advice. everything that you've learned over the last 5 years. What do you say to him in that moment when you have the chance?
I would probably first I'd tell him to quit being such a bitch. I'd tell him to be patient, and enjoy things as they are in the moment. Don't take everything so seriously, whether it be what people say, whether it be a performance that you had, and realize that you're young. Even now, at the time, everywhere I'd go, most shows, whatever, I'd be the youngest person, if not one of the youngest people in the locker room. And even now to this day, I'm still relatively one of the youngest people in most locker rooms. And so I get told all the time, like, hey, don't rush things, like, you're fine, just keep doing what you're doing. I would tell myself definitely to quit beating yourself up over the little things and realize that it's not going to come all at once. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's a process, like they say too. Like, back in the day, guys would wrestle 200-300 days a year, and they'd be considered rookies for 2 or 3 years. And nowadays, even on the indies, you're not working that many matches compared to what those guys were doing back in the day. So, like, I still have a lot of things that I learn every weekend, whether it be watching or participating. So I would definitely tell myself, most importantly, just be patient, and you're doing better than you think.
All right. Hard part's done. Now it's the easy part, man. I always close them the same way. 5 random questions. Usually have nothing to do with wrestling. One of yours does. I've got them queued up. You ready?
Let's go.
Question number 1. You're on the road, leaving a show. You got to stop at fast food. What's your go-to stop?
This one's tough. Because I like them all. I love food. I'm a food guy. I love food.
Me too. That's yes.
I would say if there is a cookout around, a cookout would be a great first option. But let's just say there's not one, and you got to stick with the kind of, you would say universally every place has a McDonald's, Taco Bell, Wendy's, Burger King. I would probably say the go-to is Taco Bell. You can't really go wrong with Taco Bell.
Love Taco Bell. I get Waffle House a lot. People have started saying Waffle House, and I can respect Waffle House. I'm also, being a chef, as a legitimate, I was an executive chef for 15 years. Like, food's important. I get that. Like, sometimes that's the most important decision you make all day is what you're going to eat.
Absolutely.
Question number 2. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, God. I'm so terrible at trying to pick like an overall favorite movie. I mean, can I go movie series?
Absolutely, yeah.
I would. I feel like this is just such a safe answer. But I mean, I have to go Star Wars. Growing up, that was
Absolutely nothing wrong with that in my book.
It's a safe answer, but off the top of my head, definitely Star Wars. Episode 3, if I had to pick one out of these 7 movies, well, actually 6. I don't. The new trilogy doesn't exist to me. So.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take.
Revenge of the Sith, number 3. That's the best movie.
Wow, I'm an Empire fan, but I think that might be a generational bias because I'm a little bit older, not too much older. Not too much, a little bit. This is the first time I've asked this question because I saw this headline today when I was finishing up your notes. WWE is going to start adding specific matches to the Hall of Fame. They look at you, Tyler, and they say, Tyler, what match do we need to put in the Hall of Fame? What's that one match you're going to go to?
Man, these are tough questions. Much respect. I would say, keeping it in the WWE realm of things here, I would probably. I mean, I know as a kid, I really, really enjoyed watching that CM Punk John Cena match for Money in the Bank 2011. Just the feel of it was just surreal. That one, I think, just based off the feeling I had watching it as a kid, that one would probably be the most clear cut. I would say I really also enjoyed John Cena, AJ Styles, from the Royal Rumble 2017. That one, those two, I'd say are probably my top two first choices.
Once again, no wrong answers here.
Right.
Question number 4. You have to
Okay.
make a decision, one or the other. Tacos or cheeseburgers?
I'm taking cheeseburgers.
Love a cheeseburger, man. Love me a cheeseburger. Question number 5, the most serious question I'm going to ask you all night. You think a hot dog's a sandwich?
Yeah, it's a sandwich.
I 100% agree. All right, man. This is everybody's favorite part. I shut the hell up. You tell everybody where to find you, plug your stuff. Tell everybody what you got coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry,
Okay,
that was the end of my
cool.
spiel.
No, all right. So yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter at AB_T Franks. That used to stand for all beef, but now it stands for all business. Keeps the same handle. It's great. So I'm there on both of those. Facebook, Tyler Franks. I mean, that's really all the social medias I do right now. We got New South Anniversary coming up next weekend, Florence, Alabama. It's a big show. KFW Wrestling this Friday up in Sevierville, Tennessee. That is going to be a really solid show. KFW is another great promotion I enjoy working for. A lot of great talent coming in and out over there. Great show. This Saturday, New South in Rockford, Alabama. Be a lot of fun. And then, that's really all we got coming up in these next couple weeks. So, if you want to see me, come see me there. I got t-shirts, got merch coming out. So come support me, come support the rest of the New South roster, and have a great time.
Tyler, man, I appreciate your time tonight and stopping by and chat about some wrestling with me, brother.
Yeah, dude, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. For New South Pro Star Tyler Franks, I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.